we just had a pretty wild storm come through. I'll show you some of this hail we got. It piled up pretty heavy. Came down really hard though, is the biggest thing. And our garden suffered through it. So we're gonna go look at it and show you what we ended up with. So these are our few raspberries we've got. They suffered no damage. They did great. So did our peas. And as we get over here, the beans on the other hand took a beating. See right there. There's punched full of holes. Most of them look okay. Some look pretty bad, but I think they'll be okay. I don't think anything's touching these potatoes. They're about 3 foot tall. These things are enormous. So, not worried about them at all. As we get over, there's our beets. They got a little bit, but not too bad. Lettuce is looking all right. Onions, not a big deal. Radishes actually don't look too bad. They're starting to bolt anyway, so probably time to pull them out. We didn't harvest as many of those as we should have. Our tomatoes, those are just the saddest looking tomatoes you've ever seen. Look at this one on the ground. They have taken a beating all spring. We've not had very good luck with them. These are our peppers as well. They do not look so hot. The corn is short because we haven't had any warm weather. The rest of this looks mostly okay. We got some broccoli going here that I think that's broccoli, whatever that is. We got beat up pretty good. But I think the worst of it is all of our squash. Look at that poor little squash plant. I think they hardly got any leaves left. Oh man. So we'll see what we do. I'm sure we'll give it a couple weeks to see how things turn out, but we might be replanting some of this stuff. I think most of it would pop up. Once we get some sun, it would probably grow faster than it has already in just a couple weeks. So it might be okay. It's still, well, it's almost July. It's July tomorrow, so we'll see. But that's the way it goes. Freak storm just came through and just destroyed it all. So we'll have to keep our eye on it and see if we can't save some of it. So we're back again. It's been 2 days since our big storm that we had that took out some of the garden. I think everything's going to survive. We're not going to get much into that today because instead I wanted to focus on something I'm kind of experimenting with. So I've been looking into ways to reproduce some of the trees that we have and the bushes that we have that we want to keep. I've also planted some hedges for the front of the property that I want to spread out too. And so we are going to be looking at propagating plants. Particularly what I'm trying to do today is what they call air layering, I believe. Jump right into it and see, you can see what it looks like. If it's not called air layering, I don't know what it's called. But I think it's called air layering. And anyway, we're gonna try it out a little bit and see if we can get it to work. If it does work, we should be able to basically make a clone of some of these trees that we have. Today, because I'm just experimenting with it, I'm actually going to be starting with some lilacs that we have. There's some that are growing across the fence that I'm gonna have to dig out anyway. And so I'm just gonna try and spread them out a little bit, see if I can get them to root. So we'll give that a try and see how things go. So we're going to be working mostly on this little piece right here, on that main branch right in there. And so the idea is we're going to pull some of those branches back, and then we are going to peel the bark in between a couple of nodes and basically cover that in compost, seal it up so it can't dry out, and let it sit there for about 8 weeks. The theory is that the hormones from the leaves coming down to the roots is blocked by where we cut that bark off, causing the end of that bark to start rooting. As those hormones go back and forth when they're blocked like that, it'll cause that open area to root, and then we can, in 8 weeks, just cut that end off. It'll be full of roots, and we can just go plop that in the ground, and it should continue to grow. So that's what we're going to try today. So once I get that outer bark off, I want to just rough this up and get all of that stuff off of there. So now I've just taken a bag, filled it full of compost. That compost is pretty wet. I just completely soaked it, and then I wrung all the water out that I could just by hand. And so now I've just got that bag full of it. I'm just going to take my knife and just make a little incision on it here. And then we're going to take that open spot and just stick it right around that. Some regular old plastic wrap from the kitchen. And just some baling twine here. Probably should have got that a little longer. Just to keep the wind from blowing it around, knocking it off. Now we're gonna get a better one than that. All right, that's it. In theory, that's all it takes. I'm only doing this one, really this year. It takes 8 weeks for that to go. So we will wait 8 weeks and open that back up and see what our roots look like. I'm not going to do anything else this year that I want to actually keep. I'm just kind of experimenting with this one to see if I can even get it to work. And then once we get figured out what I'm doing, I will try on some of our apple trees maybe. We've got a pear or a grape, what is it, a plum tree that I want to try it on. And then in a few years it'll probably be those hedges that I'll start spreading out a little bit more too. So we will wait on this one, check back in about 8 weeks and see how it turns out. So I talked about how crazy our storm was. I wanted to show you just a little bit of some of what happened from it. The garden, it's got holes punched in most of the leaves. I think everything's going to survive, but this is our apple tree. You can see there, that hail just beat the tar out of those little apples. Other places that might be normal, I don't know. I've never had that much damage from hail for our plants that I've noticed before, so it's been kind of a rough year with that, but we're plugging away. So I just wanted to wrap this video up today. We're gonna look at those propagations in a few weeks and see what happens in about 8 weeks, but I want to give a little update on this dog that we got, Sierra. She, when we got her, she actually had a hematoma that we did not know about. She'd had some swelling on her neck from her rabies vaccination, and it ended up she had a reaction to it and got a big hematoma that she had to have removed. So we'll give you a peek at her right now. She is currently wearing some pretty pink bandages. We have spent 2 weeks. She had probably about a 6 to 8 inch incision with stitches in it. They had to stitch up some of her skin to keep it from bleeding underneath, keep it from causing a second hematoma. So we will probably update you more on that next week, but she's kind of in rough shape. We've been in rough shape. She's on the mend now, but we are been working with her, trying to heal her up, and she's doing pretty good now. She seems like a pretty happy dog for all she's been through. What do you think, Sierra? What do you think? Cutest little dog in the world. Oh, that poor thing.